Well, oftentimes business education today, and I see it all the time, kids come out of college, the best colleges, Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and some of the great business schools, and they'll come out and they won't have practical.
The one decision that changed everything. You know how people say, one decision can change your life? Honestly, I never believed it until it happened to me. I always thought success was this huge mountain that only certain people could climb. Those with money, connections, or some kind of special talent. I used to think my life was just average, nothing too exciting, and that maybe I wasn't meant for anything bigger. But here's the thing. One small choice, one decision that I could have easily ignored, ended up being the turning point.
If somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be full of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. If you look at...
Looking back now, I realize it wasn't just luck. It was me finally saying yes when everything inside me wanted to say no. Let me take you back for a moment. Because the story didn't start with success, money, or confidence. It started with me feeling stuck, lost, and honestly, tired of my own excuses. Hitting rock bottom. Before the rise, life has a way of pushing you around until you decide you've had enough.
All these hobbies and code a lot of stuff and try a lot of different things. It's this amazing flexibility that I think most people take for granted. Once you decide, okay, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to do it.
For me, that moment came when I realized I was living the same day over and over again. Wake up, scroll through my phone, complain about things, go to work without passion, come back home, waste time, and repeat. I felt like a background character in my own life. But one night, everything came crashing down. I remember sitting in my room, surrounded by unfinished projects and broken promises I'd made to myself. I had said countless times, tomorrow I'll start, tomorrow I'll be better, and tomorrow I'll finally take action. But tomorrow never came.
The people who are doing the work they care about are figuring out what to do next, not following the person who told them what to do next. And the problem with most...
I looked at myself in the mirror and asked, is this it? Is this really the life I'm going to settle for? That question hit harder than anything else. It wasn't about comparing myself to others. It was about realizing I had been betraying myself every single day by choosing comfort over growth. The decision that flipped the switch. That night, I made a choice. It wasn't a loud or dramatic moment. It was quiet, just me and my thoughts. I decided I would stop waiting for motivation and start building habits, even when I didn't feel like it. The decision was simple but powerful. I would show up every day for myself no matter how small the action was. I told myself, from tomorrow, you wake up early. No excuses. You'll read at least 10 pages of a book.
Colleges is they are high school but with more binge drinking. The entire purpose of a good university is to give you a foundation to fail.
You'll work out, even if it's just for 20 minutes. You'll put time into building the life you want, even if it's only an hour a day. It sounds small, right? But that decision was everything. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't wait for a perfect plan or the right time. I just committed to being consistent.
And some people, I've got a great conceptual memory and a terrible rote memory. So if I have a story, I could tell you year by year kind of what happened.
And trust me, consistency beats motivation every single time. The struggle of starting. Let's be real, it wasn't easy at first. My body hated waking up earlier. My eyes felt heavy, my bed felt warmer than ever, and my mind screamed at me to hit snooze. Every single morning felt like a battle between who I was and who I wanted to become. The old me kept whispering,
up and up like that. And the president of Harvard or Stanford, if you wanted to get a mob of students, alumni, faculty to come after you, try to lynch you, what you should say is something like this. We live in this much larger...
Why are you even trying? You'll quit in a week anyway. But something about that one decision gave me a strange kind of strength. It was as if I had drawn a line in the sand and finally said, no more excuses. This time, I'm not backing down. Even though I felt weak, that commitment gave me power. At first, the results weren't there. I didn't wake up looking different. I didn't suddenly feel unstoppable. There were mornings when it felt pointless, like I was putting in effort for nothing. But deep down, I knew I had to keep showing up.
It's an extremely corrupt system we have at this point. We have an education bubble. In the US, we have $1 trillion of student debt. To first approximation, this has gone.
And little by little, things began to shift. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. I felt proud after finishing a workout, even if it was short. I felt sharper after reading, even just a few pages. I felt disciplined after sticking to my schedule, even when no one was watching. That's when I realized it wasn't really about the outcome anymore. It was about identity. It was about proving to myself that I could keep a promise. Every small action was like a vote for the person I wanted to be.
Prepared for that. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. They just assume, okay, I'm going to 4 years of education at $25,000 a pop, and when I come out the other side, somehow I'll be able to.
And each time I followed through, that old voice of doubt got quieter. I wasn't just building habits. I was building self-respect. And once you start to see yourself as someone who shows up, quitting stops being an option. How habits built my confidence. That one decision turned into a chain reaction. Because once you start proving to yourself that you can change one area of your life, you realize you can change anything. My mornings became productive. My evenings became intentional.
Every time I would go to the front floor was the CEO's office. So I would bust in like it's the CEO. I'm dreaming like I'm the CEO.
Instead of wasting hours scrolling, I started learning new skills. I started journaling. I started planning my days. Slowly, the version of me that I once hated, the lazy, unmotivated one, was disappearing. People around me noticed too. Friends would say, "You seem different." And they were right. I was different. Not because I had achieved something huge yet, but because I had built a new identity. I was no longer the person who quit after 3 days. I was the person who showed up no matter what.
Regardless of anything else.
This here in reality, do you mean?
Opportunities I never expected. Here's the crazy part. Once you change yourself, life starts changing too. Opportunities began showing up in ways I never imagined. I got offered projects at work because people saw my new level of focus. I met like-minded people who pushed me to dream bigger. And eventually, doors opened that I never thought I'd walk through.
Blessed. And here I am the CEO of my own company.
In whatever you do, please understand your terrain. No.
Things like starting my own side hustle, speaking at small events, and helping others who felt stuck the same way I once did. But let me be clear, none of this happened overnight. It was the accumulation of small, consistent decisions. That's what people don't always understand. Success doesn't come from one grand moment. It comes from daily choices stacked on top of each other. But you'll never reach that point if you don't make the first decision. Lessons I learned along the way.
I'm genuinely meant to be. Lean into them. Baddies are also part of a very good and meaningful life. So on my toughest days, I think about getting through.
Looking back, I can confidently say that my life didn't change in one giant leap. It shifted through small, consistent choices. At first, I didn't realize how much one decision could matter. But now, standing where I am, I can see the ripple effect clearly. Here are some of the biggest lessons that came from that one decision. 1. Comfort is the enemy of growth. If you're always comfortable, you'll never change. Comfort feels safe, but it's also a trap. The truth is, growth is uncomfortable.
We ask kids that are 16 to 18 years old to make $100,000 debt decisions when they go off to university. And they're not.
You forgive that person and you understand why that person did it, the good came from it, all of a sudden, it's not such a bad thing anymore.
It requires stretching, failing, and stepping into the unknown. Every time I chose comfort over challenge, I stayed stuck. But the moment I leaned into discomfort, whether it was saying yes to a new opportunity or finally breaking a bad habit, everything started to shift. 2. Motivation fades, but discipline stays. Motivation is like a spark. It burns bright, but it dies quickly. Discipline, on the other hand, is the steady flame that keeps you moving even when you don't feel like it.
Prepared for that. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. They just assume, okay, I'm going to 4 years of education at $25,000 a pop, and when I come out the other side, somehow I'll be able to.
Everything changed for me when I realized we're not meant to feel excited and perfect all the time. I started accepting that where I am right now is.
I used to wait for the right moment, or the perfect wave of motivation. Spoiler, it rarely came. The game changer was realizing I didn't need to feel ready. I just needed to act. Readiness came after the action. 3. Your identity is built by your habits. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. If you want confidence, do things that build confidence. If you want success, practice success daily, even in small ways. 4. One small change creates a ripple effect.
Fuel to get you moving. If you don't know where you're going, your targets are, you're never going to get there.
That it doesn't matter how old you are,
I can't stress this enough. Never underestimate the power of small steps. One book led me to a new idea. One workout led me to feeling stronger. One journal entry led me to more clarity. Over time, these tiny steps compounded into major change. Looking back, the things that seemed too small to matter turned out to be the biggest turning points. 5. You are always one decision away from a completely different life. This one sounds cliché until you actually live it. The decision to stop betraying myself and finally show up, consistently, changed the trajectory of my entire life. If you're standing where I once stood, maybe you're reading this and thinking, that sounds nice, but I don't know if I can do it. Trust me.
Something bad happens to you, what society tells you is, hey, that's trauma, hey, it's bad, hey, you should feel terrible. If you take that bad thing and then you look at it in the different light.
I thought the same thing. I thought I was too lazy, too average, too far behind. But here's the truth. None of that mattered. What mattered was whether I was willing to choose differently. That's it. Go for a walk instead of lying in bed. Write down your goals instead of letting them live in your head. These little shifts feel small, but over time they compound into massive results. That first decision wasn't just about habits, it was about self-respect.
Well, oftentimes business education today, and I see it all the time, kids come out of college, the best colleges, Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and some of the great business schools, and they'll come out and they won't have practical.
The moment I chose to stop letting myself down, I began to see myself differently. And when you respect yourself, everything else, your health, your relationships, your goals, falls into place. My challenge for you. So let me ask you this. What's the one decision you've been avoiding? You already know the one. The decision that's been sitting in the back of your mind. The one that scares you because it would force you to leave your comfort zone.
All these hobbies and code a lot of stuff and try a lot of different things. It's this amazing flexibility that I think most people take for granted. Once you decide, okay, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to do it.
Maybe it's starting that side hustle. Maybe it's walking into the gym for the first time. Maybe it's cutting ties with toxic habits or even toxic people. Whatever it is, stop waiting for the perfect moment. Decide today. Because here's the truth. Life doesn't change by accident. It changes when you take responsibility. And sometimes the smallest choice can flip everything upside down.
Up and up like that. And the president of Harvard or Stanford, if you wanted to get a lynch mob of students, alumni, faculty to come after you, try to lynch you, what you should say is something like this. You know, we live in this much larger.
One final lesson. And if it worked for me, it can work for you too. If this story sparked something in you, don't let the feeling fade. Make your decision today. And if you want more real conversations, more stories, and more motivation to keep you moving, make sure you subscribe. This is just the beginning of your story, and I promise, the best chapters are yet to be written.